And boom, boom, we are live. We are live, everybody. Welcome to you. Welcome to you. Welcome to Red TV and Conversation. I'm Peter Clarke. It's been a while since I've been back, but you know what? It's been worth it. It's been worth the wait for this fine young gentleman here we have today. We are streaming right now for everybody out there. Thanks for joining us. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, anything that the kids are on.com. We're probably out there as well, just so you know. Look at this guy over here. I'm pretty excited because this is the first of a series of people I wanted to connect with because I hear their voice on Clubhouse, and you don't know too much about them other than they're doing a great job on Clubhouse. So I just had to reach out to this fellow Canadian. This guy is definitely a Clubhouse rock star. Okay, he's the main moderator for a very, very popular club on Clubhouse, and we'll get in that in a second. But he's certainly no stranger to hosting. He's hosted special events from top brands around the world, really across North America, around the world. And yes, you can hire this fine young man for your next corporate event, if you will. He's a stand-up comedian, and I got to tell you something. I've always said this, and friends that know me very well will back me up on this. Hardest gig in the world. Hardest gig in the world is stand-up comedy, bar none, no exceptions. Hardest gig in the world, and this guy is a stand-up comedy. His style is very high energy. Takes his audience on a journey through his family dynamics and personal relationships and shortcomings. But I don't think he has a whole bunch of those, so we'll probably have time to get into those if we can. He's not only a host and a comedian. He's also an actor, and if that's not enough, he's been on multiple television networks and shows that have taken him basically across the world. 170 different countries his shows has actually broadcasted in. So that's very, very cool. And as we speak, he's working on a brand new series for television. He's working on it today. So we'll jump into that as well. So with all that being said, can you imagine that guy over there? Can you guys please welcome Eric Johnston? Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, here I am. What an intro. My God, sometimes I forget all the things I've done, and then you surmise them. Is that the word? Surmise. You surmise them so well.
I think I surmised them. I surmised them. Did I get them all in? Because I think
you know what? You could keep going if you want. If you can pull up any more facts, I would love it. My mom's watching this. She'll be, well, he has done a lot. I'm very proud of him. But that's funny.
Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. I know that voice. It's the first time we've actually communicated, so that's why I think this is pretty cool.
Well, it's funny, because I hear your voice so often in the Clubhouse rooms, and then you are not what I thought you would look like. No, in a good way. Because here, listen, I love the vibes. Look at me. I look like Magnum PEI right now. I love flashy. I got all types of gold jewelry. Listen, you and I are the same. You're just I went more Tony Soprano. You went more Rod Stewart. So we are the very similar men. But I'm excited. But yeah, then I saw him like, this guy's great. So I'm really excited, Peter. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Man, like I said, I'm a fan because you do a great job, and I'm not telling you. I told you that when I reached out to you because I wanted to have this conversation, but you're doing such a great job on Clubhouse, and we'll dig into that as well. And like I said, kudos to you, man, because I'm going to tell you, and I'm not making that up. As a musician, I've played live before. I've been on a couple TV things before, so I know how difficult it is to get in front of the camera and do different things. But stand-up comedy is bar none the hardest gig on the planet. I've always said it. I don't care at what level you are, especially if you're in a club with like 20 people, if you're and let alone if it was 20,000 people. Yeah. No matter what it is, for just raw, real, grab a mic, stand in front of people, kudos to you. So I just wanted to make sure that you heard that from me, man.
Well, thank you. Well, I've done both 20 and 20,000. And I did a major festival, and it had 20,000 people at it. Now, I was one of the, I was a prominent act, but I wasn't the person they were there to see. And, so when I was on, maybe only the first 5,000, maybe if I'm lucky, I'm going to say maybe 2,000 people were actually paying attention. The rest were trying to get beers and popcorn before the main guy went on. But I've done a lot of 20-person shows, and it's been a long journey, and I've loved every second of it. And that sounds very cliche to say, but cutting my teeth in Hamilton, as a stand-up comic, trained. It's like I was running in sand for the first 6 years of my career. That when I got to these larger scale comedy clubs and national tours and the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory, it was just like this perfectly paved track. So I was ready to just run. And my career has kind of reflected that. And the thing with music and comedy is very simple. There's no covers in comedy. So,
Right.
if I did a cover, I would be done. My career would be over. So it really solely lies on my shoulders, myself. I'm up there by myself, and it's got to be 100% my original ideas, or again, you're finished. So it's a high risk thing, but I kind of like that. I'm a type of guy who jumps out of a plane without a parachute and hopes that something comes along. And
Figure it out on the way down. Yeah. figure it out on the way down.
yeah. Although I would never actually jump out of a plane because I'm not a psychopath. But similar idea.
Oh man, listen, like I said, kudos to you. I'm saying that because I just know what it's like to do this. Even this, people think you just jump in front of a mic and so on. And I know you probably feel the same way, but you get those natural nerves and the butterflies are happening and so on. Let me just jump to very quickly. I want to show people a couple things here. First of all, on LinkedIn, because we are broadcasting on LinkedIn.
Great.
So, and I know that you're just starting to get a little bit more active on LinkedIn, which is fantastic. The reason why I'm putting up LinkedIn is in case there's any C-suites out there and organizations and companies out there. This fine young man actually is a great host or someone you can bring in to do a corporate event or anything like that. So please connect with him via LinkedIn right there. And if you're thinking about social media, I'm going to put along the bottom there, Eric Johnston. Actually, I got that wrong. It's Eric Johnston who.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
No. That's
at the bottom. I see.
Yeah, the bottom.
You blew it. You blew it.
It's hard to get good help. It's just hard to get good help. It's just it.
Hey, well, talk to Buddha over your shoulder.
Exactly. Hard to get good help. But it's Eric Johnston, as you can see underneath his name here, ericjohnstonwho.com. And of course, just so that you don't have to answer that question, I know it was an old marketing event company that you had and who's we and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, deep dive. My gosh. Look at you, professional. So yeah, I used to have a branded live entertainment company called Who's We. That fell apart like most things do in Hamilton. And you know what? It was fun branding. I was branding for the company. But then, when the company dissolved, first of all, not everyone knew me as Eric Johnston Who, but also it was a funny thing where it's like, I'm an entertainer. I'm a comedian. Yeah. And, people we're going to see Eric Johnston today. Like, Eric Johnston who? So I thought it'd be, appropriate in the earlier my career. And now as things are becoming more successful, I hope it becomes more ironic. So I kept it. Plus, I got a bunch of business cards, Vistaprint, so I needed to keep it, right? So...
I hear you. I did the same thing. Listen, a lot of my branding is not changing for many more years.
Exactly. Cycle it out.
The bulk purchases,
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's where you get a deal,
I got it. Well, hey, let's just jump to the how we met. And I want to jump into that. By the way, I'm remiss. I'm going to apologize up front here. And I should have asked you right at the beginning because it's in my mind, my heart, and the soul. First of all, how are you and your family? Everyone okay over the last 12 months? Everything
that's
okay?
Nice. Yeah. You know what? We're finding ways to make it work. My mom retired from the Bank of Montreal after 46 years of service. Commercial finance manager in the Bank of Montreal. Started as a teller when she was 16 and worked her way up to be the senior most female a commercial account manager in Ontario. And that's with no college education and a high school diploma from Bishop Bryan High School. So, she did very well. We can get more into my dad. My dad's, passed away, but he was a professional wrestler. So, it was an interesting thing with, my dad being the entertainer and my mom kind of being the steady force in our life. And I truly do love my mom so much. She's a little crazy sometimes. And, I think all moms are. It's it kind of... I get a lot of my comedy from my mom and her antics, but she lived in a high pressure, financial world for 46 years. She's gonna have some funny tics about her. But I do love her so much. And my sister, unfortunately, lost her. My sister has a vintage clothing company. She's a vintage,
Holly, right?
Vintage, yeah, Holly Johnston. She's a vintage clothing reseller, and she had actual storefront business here in Hamilton on Concession Street. Due to the pandemic, she lost her storefront. But that being said, with kind of, online shopping was already very big, but throughout the pandemic, people want to buy and experience and also help out local businesses. So she's moved everything into her home, and now she's selling worldwide out of her home. So we're doing all right. And then for me, I mean, it's pretty clear that I didn't slow down. Peter, I'm like a shark. Like if I stop swimming, I die. So, I get, and by die, I mean depressed. But,
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. Speaking of sharks, we're going to jump to that too. We're going to talk about sharks.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but health-wise, everyone has been okay that way.
No scares. I'm down 20 pounds. I'm as muscular as ever, Peter. Look at these guys. The gun shovels.
Those are guns, man. Those are guns. I did like guns,
unregistered. I should move to Texas. But yeah, you know what? We're making it work, and I think something that from our family is our entire family, especially rooting for my father, the professional wrestler. We're kind of by any means necessary type people, and whatever it takes to get there. And I've just proven this year that it is whatever it takes. So long story short, family's good.
I love it. No, that's great. Fantastic. Hey, I'm just going to jump to a couple comments here just in case people are watching, because, there's probably 750 million people on LinkedIn alone. And there's probably one or two that doesn't know me. That's for sure. And yourself as well. But let's just see who's here.
We'll see.
Hey, here's a guy, Tim. He's a live producer on LinkedIn. Good to see you here, Tim. Appreciate that. This guy here, Kenneth. Look at the comments he always puts up. Stay with the player. He's just somewhere else all the time. I love that guy. I'm just throwing up a couple comments randomly, everybody.
These are all about you, Peter, and I'm a little upset. To be honest.
I'm just trying to find some for you.
Yes, Peter's here. Hi, Peter.
Here we go.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find some more about you. You're absolutely right. It's nothing to do with me.
Hey, I'm the star over here. What are you doing? You're making me look bad.
Hello, everybody. Come on, let's go. But thank you for whoever's watching right now. We appreciate it very much. Let's talk about Clubhouse. We met on Clubhouse, and let me just cut right to where you were. You were doing an amazing job of hosting a show, basically a room that's it's a club now. But for anyone who doesn't know what Clubhouse is, please just Google Clubhouse.
Yeah, I'm tired of explaining it to people. Like you just gotta go watch a YouTube video. I can't. I'm moving too fast here to explain it to you.
Yeah, we got to keep moving through that. So Clubhouse. So it's a room called Canadians Connecting on Clubhouse. So.
Correct.
So those who aren't so familiar with it, but let's just talk about your experience with this app so far, and then tell us why you wanted to do it specifically for Canadians.
Yeah, well, you know what, I could run through that very quickly because people have asked me multiple times. So, I had some friends, photographers, and other people in my life, connected people who are looking out for me. I have a lot of that in my life, and I'm very, very happy about that. But a lot of guys, you on Clubhouse? You got to get on Clubhouse. You got to get on Clubhouse. And to me, it felt, when I first heard about it, it felt kind of pyramid scheme or it was, you got to get invited and you can only have an iPhone and blah blah blah, you got to get the number, the invite. And I'm not resistant because I'm always embracing kind of new technologies, new paths to kind of share my voice, but I gave it a couple weeks. I truly I'll get on it, send me an invite, and then a friend of mine, another person named Amy, who I really respect, she said, Eric, I'm telling you, you need to get on Clubhouse. I guarantee you, here's a callback to your name, you'll be a rock star on it. And I said, okay, so I do it. So now I'm in all these, I'm looking for things that I'm interested in, and stand-up comedy talks and, actor talks and whatever. Now, I was involved in this big stand-up comedy room called Stand-Up Comedy Talk, and it had big LA comics and stuff, and some guys that I knew from touring and performing at the Comedy Store, and it was good to catch up with them and say hi, and it was nice to see kind of my name, even though I live in Stony Creek, Ontario, these kind of bigger LA comics going on, be like, hey, Eric, good to see you. I haven't seen you since the last time you were down here 2 years ago, so that felt good. But the biggest thing I noticed about it is every time a Canadian would come into any of the rooms I was in, I would get excited. Because Canadians were like that, right? Well, that guy's Canadian, right? This is another Canadian. Sorry, I just punched my microphone. I hope you can still hear me.
Yes, okay.
And I said, this guy's Canadian. So I was with two of my friends who were on the app. Their names are Steve Haining and Rob Anzett, both very accomplished photographers. And I just texted them both and I said, you know what? I get excited when I see Canadians. We should do a Canadian room. And I'll just call it something simple like Canadians Connecting on Clubhouse, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. And, the first hour was awkward. It was 6 of us maybe just kind of, so what do you do? And, and within that, just after that first hour, it was almost like the floodgates open. And I think maybe it had something to do with the algorithm or whatever. But all of a sudden we had, 300 people in the room. Wow. And it was just like, I'm bringing I don't know how it works, so I'm bringing everybody up, anyone who's raising their hands, and I'm moderating everybody. And we ended up speaking till almost 5:30 in the morning. Wow. And I went, okay, well, there's something here. And then it becomes addictive, right? And, when can we do another one? And I wanted to do one the next night. I'm like, I had a gig, so I can't do it. I'll do it Wednesday. And then I can't do it Thursday. I'll do it Friday. And, so the first couple months was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Monday and Wednesday, the more professional version of the room. Friday, kind of like the bar hangout after the conference kind of energy. Sure. Happy hour, perfect. Thank you. And since then we've got our own club, and there's a guy. I know some guys in tech and whatever. They've been doing kind of the back channel algorithms, the statistics of the room, and they computed that we've connected over 50,000 Canadians.
That's unbelievable.
And it's insane. I do it every week, and I stopped doing the Fridays just because, for one very simple reason. We created such a very not business, but a very professional setting on the Mondays and Wednesdays. The Fridays was people were drinking and saying whatever the heck they want, and I didn't want that to be a reflection of me. Because as a comedian, everyone's getting canceled left, right, and center, and I can't control what other people say. But I am the guy at the top of the top left corner. So I thought I had some complaints, and I can't believe that you let that guy go on. And I went. So I just stopped it. And that doesn't mean I didn't want to do it. I just meant this is a business decision. And from that business decision, we've had people like 𝗟𝗏𝗃𝗏 come in, Tom Green, the Cultural Tourism and Heritage Minister of Ontario, Lisa MacLeod, has come in, done a little Q&A. And then the connection with the Dragons, with Arlene Dickinson, which has...
we're going to get to that.
I was going to say, I'm sure you have a question about that, but that was just insane.
Yeah, I just listen, and you hit something that I really wanted to spark, and just again, I'll just push you a little bit more, just to kind of comment on
let's do it.
Is that social media apps? I mean, let's face it, we're all punch drunk to death with Zoom calls and on different sort of platforms. This one just struck a chord that I didn't see coming. How about you? I mean,
absolutely.
It was like talk radio, and I was like, is this talk radio and it's back? Like,
yeah. Well,
did you feel the same way?
I feel the exact same way. And you and I are both, hosts, entertainers. Like, as you were alluding to off the top, I've hosted and done comedy for some of the biggest brands in Canada, the biggest banks, the biggest real estate companies, the biggest charities. I can work 100% clean, and I also do something called being Canadian clean. And Canadian clean is clean, but I swear. Because I think as a Canadian, you can't really tell a funny story without swearing. I'm going to work clean tonight. But even in that space, you learn how to talk to people, you learn how to keep a show moving. So I am a professional at that. That's why people gravitate to the room so much, and they can hear almost like this. Like, I even just shared it as you're doing the intro. I'm like, we're 30 seconds in, and I love this already because it's so professional. And I do these call-in shows, other podcasts or whatever, and it's a guy in his shower, and no work, nothing, just a kind of a crappy conversation. And I love doing them, don't get me wrong. But the biggest thing about Clubhouse is, first of all, the way it took off because of my, professionalism. But also, I created an inclusive space, and I wouldn't have been able to create that space if it wasn't for it being a Canadian room. Because I've been in these other rooms. And listen, I'm not knocking any of our neighbors to the south or anywhere else in the world. But it's kind of people talking over each other, trying to get their bits in, not listening, very combative, whatever. When you get that many Canadians in a room with Canadian pride, everyone takes their turn, everyone has their space, everyone gets their bit in, everyone's willing to help, everyone's willing to share, everyone's willing to make things happen. And the biggest thing one of the biggest things from Clubhouse, and this is not something that I did this for, but is the social media reach in terms of reflecting onto my Instagram. Since using Clubhouse, I'm up 2,500 followers on Instagram organically. That is organic growth. That would take me 2 years on the road. Because at my merch table, when I'm on tour as a comedian, I sell my stickers and my buttons and I take pictures and whatever. But I also hand out these cards that says, follow me. And it's just got all my social media stuff. You know, I can do a show that has 200, 300, 400 people at it. I give one to every single person. I'm lucky to get a 10% return. So
I believe it.
So, and these are people who are fans of mine. They're still like, yeah, I'll follow them, whatever. But this is on Clubhouse. I push it purposely in my rooms. Hey, check out everyone's linked social media platforms, guys. Great way to connect, blah, 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 blah. Now, do I care about Instagram followers? Good question. I like having the organic connection. Like, I can open my Instagram, scroll through it. Every picture and post I see, I know who that person is.
Wow.
And I go, yeah. So that's huge. Now, there's the algorithm of if you get to 10,000, you can do the swipe up feature on your thing, which I would like. But I mean, I'm still selling tickets regardless, so it doesn't really matter. Right. But it's a very positive side effect because as a young up-and-coming comedian, and I have an amazing career, I make a living off stand-up comedy. To say that in Canada, you've made it.
Yes.
But still
anywhere, by the way.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Anywhere.
Especially in Canada because we have no star system. All of our stars go to the States. So, but to have that organic reach and connection with the people, it's amazing. And I'm so excited because my biggest currency as a young Canadian comedian is eyeballs.
Yeah.
I get paid to do what I do, but I would prefer if someone paid me less and told 100 friends, you got to check out this guy. And that's what's happening with Clubhouse. And the engagement on all my posts, I've been really putting stuff out and I'm just watching my followers, my likes, everything just not explode, but swell pretty noticeably. And that makes me feel very happy. And then some of the connections that I've made from it to that lead into my outside of Clubhouse life, which 100%. Again, I'm sure you have a question for.
No, I was going to say, no, this is how we connected. I mean, the whole point of that question is really just reminding people of, I know for me, I'll just be transparent about it. I'm online a lot. I do a lot of this. Yeah. I get tired. I get tired a lot of it. And because there feels like there's multiple layers to build a relationship, there is something magical about hearing someone's voice right in your ear instantly and speaking with them and then going to find out more about them. And that's what I thought this particular app has been just pleasantly surprising to me, because when I first heard about it, I just didn't think it was going in the direction that I would be interested in putting time in.
Yeah.
And now it's the opposite. It's this FOMO effect of like, wow, Eric's got a room open and I'm missing some stuff. And I'm missing meeting some cool people. I want to throw up something here real quick because you just mentioned, I'm going to throw it up on your bio. First of all, I love this picture, so I just want to show people this.
Oh, thank you.
Super, super cool. And but talking about the brands that you've worked with, I just want to peel down here. There's the bio. You go onto his website, everybody, onto Eric Johnston who.com.
You got it.
But look at the brands. I just wanted to make sure they saw that we weren't playing around. Like, you've done some really, really cool things. I've connected with a lot of people when it comes to hosting and doing stand-up and hosting events and so on, which you're still available to do, everybody. Which you still
virtually, which I do. I'm in my homemade comedy club right now in my basement with a backdrop and spotlights.
There you go. Absolutely. So I wanted to make sure that people saw that, like I said, some of the biggest brands, again, you're talking about Banks, right? CIBC and TV and so on. And you've done a lot of charity work too. So kudos to you, my friend, because I really appreciate anyone who's using their talents as a force for good. Let's talk about the Dragons part. I mean, anyone in Canada, just very quickly, Dragon's Den is kind of like Shark Tank in America. So that show where basically people come in and pitch ideas. And a very famous entrepreneur here in Canada is Arlene Dickinson, who is there. So I just want to jump to that. I mean, that's an example of the connection. You were running one of these rooms. She comes into one of the rooms, kind of likes what you're doing, and the next thing you know, you're hosting rooms for her and so on. So, I just want to know your journey on that. What's it like for you to kind of have to not have to transition, but to find people like that all of a sudden saying, "Hey, Eric, would you mind hosting a room for us?" Which means you're going from pure comedy entertainer to almost like a business facilitator and host. What's that transition?
Yeah,
been
it
like?
was interesting. So you said it kind of how it happened. She had just been scrolling down the Clubhouse hallway, and she saw, a big part of my branding on Clubhouse is obviously the Canadian flag. If you look at my bio on Clubhouse, it's Canadian flag, Canadian flag, Canadian flag, Canadian flag, and she saw it. All the rooms are Canadian flag, Canadians connecting on Clubhouse, Canadian flag. So she sees it. She comes in. She hears us kind of just talking and riffing. And you've been in the room. I like to keep it very professional, but I also like to riff. I'm a comedian. So if someone has, a little moment where they maybe mess up, I'll call them out on it. Or if someone, when I say, hey, in under 2 minutes, tell us about who you are, where you're from, and what you do, and they go for 7 minutes, and I'll say something like, well, thanks for your HBO documentary. Just to kind of give some levity to the situation. Now, Arlene really liked that. And so she comes into the room. I see her. Obviously, I'm a Canadian. And the funniest part about this, which I haven't actually mentioned to really anybody, is I watch a lot of Dragon's Den and Shark Tank because as an entertainer, I don't know how often I come into pitch meetings or whatever, and I think to myself, if I'm pitching, pretend like you're pitching to a dragon. Pretend that you have all your ducks in a row into her branding and where you think it's going to go, how long you think it's going to take to make, all this kind of stuff. And when I'm being pitched on, hey, Eric, we have this idea for so-and-so and so-and-so, I start asking the questions that these dragons or sharks would ask. So I've been doing this for a long time. And it's almost like people I come to me with an idea and I go, oh, you have an idea? That's nice. Come back to me when you can show me how you're going to execute it.
Right.
And that kind of attitude hasn't made me a lot of friends because I'm very harsh on that. But it has made me be very respected as a businessman within the entertainment industry. So anyways, I digress. Arlene comes in the room. Here's the action. Here's how it's going. Here's me. She stays the entire time. She came in at 9:30. I saw her, and people were texting me like, Arlene's here, Arlene's here, Arlene's here. Keep it cool. Arlene's here. I'm very cool. Invite her to stage. She accepted. Moderator, she comes right up. I introduce her. She gives herself an introduction, although she didn't need one, obviously. And then we're just kind of off to the races. Now, inherently, people, when they're introducing themselves, and listen, I would have done the same thing if I was a small business owner or entrepreneur. I mean, I am in the sense of the entertainment industry, but I don't have a special mop or anything. But people were pitching a little, hey, Arlene, I'm going to tell you about who I am, but I also work for this company. And I kind of had to slow it down and say, listen, guys, this is not a pitch room. This is a connection room. And because we have this major connection here, if anyone has a question for Arlene, let's do it that way. Otherwise, we'll just kind of do the regular thing that we do in here. But people were asking questions. Now Arlene starts inviting all of her other dragon friends. Right. It was like a dragon takeover. So, and I was okay with it. At first I went, oh, so this is what this is going to be. But because I thought they were just coming into the room, kind of not sabotaging, that's a terrible word, but coming into it to promote the other things they have going on.
Sure. I mean, listen, that's
exactly. That's business.
What happens when it comes to giant entrepreneurs like her.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I would think that.
And I thought, okay, well, let's just see how this goes. But then we had such an amazing 4-hour conversation with Arlene and all the other dragons, and it kind of became a little Ask the Dragon room. And I said to Arlene, we should do this as another room, as an Ask the Dragons room on a different night, so we can actually say it. That's what it is. And she said, yeah, of course. She's very hard to get a hold of because she's Arlene Dickinson.
Yes.
But she said, get in contact with Paris Sponsori. She's working with me. We're doing a lot of hosting stuff together. Next thing you know, boom, 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 Paris, here we are, Tuesday night, 9 o'clock. We go for 4 hours. It's fantastic again. Now, do I think it's going to be a continuous thing? Maybe. But if not, it was an amazing experience of something that came organically from this space that I've created. But it's not just me, and I mention that a lot. I have a team of moderators who are handling a lot of back channel stuff. They're bringing people up. They're kind of handling a lot of stuff for me because they know, and you can tell even in this podcast, I keep it moving. So I'm an entertainer. I'm spinning plates everywhere I go. Sure. So I've got a great moderating team. But again, this is kind of my baby. So sometimes we kind of butt heads and well, what do you think we did this? And I'm like, I don't feel right about that. That seems too pitchy. Let's move on. But for the most part, we've been 100% in agreement. It's been an amazing experience. And again, that never would have happened. Now I think to myself, when this pandemic's over, first of all, my career is doing very well. But now I can walk into a room, a special event, say at TIFF or whatever it is, and Arlene's there, and she knows exactly who I am, and she knows exactly my story. You couldn't pay for that.
How could you do that on a regular? That's what I'm saying. There's something magical, but how would you do that through LinkedIn? It would take forever. Instagram posting, liking, and sharing.
Well, it's funny. Bring up my LinkedIn again because I really want people to start going to my LinkedIn. It was Arlene who said that. Because I had some settings all off where you couldn't see my profile unless I asked to be your friend or connect. I didn't really know much about it. I just kind of put it up there to really post some of my hosting stuff, but I didn't really know. I didn't use it. I didn't even have the app downloaded on my phone. So Arlene is like laying into me like, you need to be on LinkedIn. You're too talented. You got too much of a resume. People like me don't go to your Instagram and see you flexing with your shirt off. They go to your LinkedIn. So, and then that's where I really started to now embrace LinkedIn. So that's where we are, and here we are, and it's come full circle in terms of all of this.
I love it. Well, because again, the point of some of this conversation is I know that we're broadcasting out on LinkedIn. This will sit on LinkedIn. I'll certainly chop up some of this for LinkedIn. And your business is where you right now you're working with the C-suites and organizations and nonprofits and so on who are looking for ways to bring their teams together, looking for ways to communicate. Everyone's zoomed out. Why not bring in some entertainment virtually? And this is the role that I think you could play, but you can offer those services. And how would they learn about you unless you're literally again on LinkedIn?
Exactly. So
I just think it's a great bridge between those two, and I love that. Let's talk about that a little bit. About it's a great segue into your business has changed radically over the last 12. Everyone's has, obviously. You just talked about Holly. Your sister had to lose her storefront and move online and do those kinds of things. And you've heard 1,000 stories through the room, that's for sure, on the Canadian room, how many people have had to pivot and switch and adapt and change and retire early and all that stuff. So let's talk about you specifically. How's and I want, again, I'm really focusing this on you for your business model as you move forward. How have you had to adapt it? What part of that adaptation really was overwhelming for you? I really want to know what overwhelmed you, and then how you got through that, because obviously you're online now and you're rocking, but there was probably a point where you're like, wow, I do stand up and everything's closed. What do I do? How did that happen?
So it was exactly that. Now, like every business, I've moved online. Now, when the first wave of the pandemic hit, I mean, I've lost track of what wave we're at now. I think 3, possibly 4. When the first wave hit, we thought this was just going to be a couple-week thing. This was going to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve, guys. We'll be back outside, And it's funny. I did 7 sold-out shows at the Laugh Factory in Chicago, and my last show when I got home on March 17th.
Oh, gosh.
The border closed on March 19th.
Wow.
In that sense, I remember leaving those shows. It was 450 people a night. I was having some of the best shows of my career. And I thought to myself, this is it. Eric, you've worked so hard. This is your shot. And you're about to get it, because 450 people times 7, I'm not a mathematician, are talking about you in Chicago, a place you've only been once before. That word's going to spread. It's going to spread within the industry, all that kind of stuff. This is it. And then obviously, boom. And I was at a Chicago Blackhawks game. I had a night off from my tour and went there, and I remember just one person with a mask on, and people were kind of making fun of this poor lady, like, take that mask off, you look ridiculous. And I thought, this is something here. Anyways, I'm a big digresser, but it kind of sets the tone up here. I come home on the 19th, and the first couple kind of month and a half, I went, this is going to pass. I'm going to still be able to ride that wave that I was riding in Chicago. I'm going to ride that wave all over the world. And as things kind of, like all waves do, have to eventually settle. And so a lot of comics kind of banded together type thing. Comedians are a funny bunch, because it's a pretend group, because they'll come together for things that they want to hate on. But if someone's doing well, then they all turn on each other. Every comedian wants you to do well. I'm going to exclude myself, because I try to help out as many comedians as I can. I helped out one the last couple days. but every comedian wants you to do well, but not better than them. So and I think that's in any entertainment industry, but especially comedy because it's so singular.
Like
and
won the Grammy.
yeah, good for you. So it's everyone wants you to do well, but not better than them. But the comedians kind of came together and said, we're not doing online comedy. It's bad for business. It's bad for the art form. It's not going to work. There's no live audience, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of jumped on that train for a little bit. But I was booked in Frankenmuth, Michigan, the town of Christmas all year. And I was booked to do a pretty big show there, a small kind of theater. And the promoter reached out to me and said, listen, obviously we're not doing the show. We changed up the format a little bit. We're going to have a rolling headliner showcase. We're going to do 12 to 15 minutes. There's going to be 4 comedians on. We're not going to pay you what we could, but we'll give you $250 American to do 12 to 15 minutes. And I said, what time? So my attitude changes and I go, I'm going to have to make this work. So at the time I was in my office, which is on the 3rd floor of this house, and it's a little cramped little space. And you've seen me do comedy. I'm over here. So I'm trying to, do my act like a, alligator arms. So I learned from that, but I also learned it's not that bad. It's not. All you have to do really is slow down, take your time, let those punchlines hang like a tender peach a little longer because you got to hit it. It's got to go into the camera. It's got to go up into the ether, come into someone's house. They have to laugh. The laugh has to come back up and come back to you. So it's only microseconds, but comedy is about timing and pacing. So if you're not on time and if you're going too fast, people are missing bits. They're missing callbacks or whatever. It's just a very microsecond shift. And I went, okay, well, that works. And now I'm really going to go for this. So now I've built a backdrop this is a big black curtain. I have another thing that goes up. It's my actual logo with my website. I got the professional mic. I got the professional camera. I'm on the Mac. It's all 4K and whatever. Since then, I've probably done 75 online Zoom calls, shows. And in corporate season, I make a big chunk of my yearly earnings in corporate season, November, December. Like these big companies that we were just talking about, they hire me to do their Christmas parties, corporate season, right? And I was only able to do 1 a night. With Zoom, I was able to do 3.
That's right.
I would do a 7 o'clock, do my hour. Thank you, good night, guys. Exit, log on to another one. Do a 9 o'clock, do an hour. Thank you, good night, guys. Log into an 11 o'clock coming in from the West Coast. Thank you, good night. So now I'm tripling my business. Yeah. I made more, again, as an entertainer, I made more money, but I made more money this year doing corporates than I did any years previous. And I've been doing it professionally for 10 years. So now I'm thinking, invest in this. I zoomed into Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank, California the other day and did 15. It didn't pay like a corporate did, but that's a credit now. Now, Flappers is a big comedy club in Burbank. So now that's on my resume. I feel, and this, I don't really care how this sounds, a lot of comics are too cool. They're too cool to take chances. They're indie, alternative. I like to do a basement where people are smoking weed and I can talk about my cat. So many comedians are so concerned with looking cool. I've abandoned that notion a long time ago and just done the work. Work first. It's called show business for a reason. It should really be business show. Because there's a lot of work that you have to put in before you can get the show. So I've abandoned that idea, and I don't care about what other comics think about me. I have a lot of great friends in comedy. I was talking on set with a comedian friend of mine today, and I went, years ago, maybe call it 5 years ago, kind of middle chunk of my career, I was very business-oriented. And almost a lot of the comics were like, who does this guy think he is? Like, he's got business cards, a website, a Facebook page, logos. He hires graphic designers. Who does he think he is? Now I'm at a point in my career after touring Canada multiple times, winning COCA Comedian of the Year, and the Laugh Factory, the Comedy Store, opening for Russell Peters, opening for 𝗟𝗶𝘃𝗵𝗃 𝗟𝗶𝘃𝗃𝗃. These are resume pieces, but I'm at a point in my career where I can truly just let my work speak. And that is the biggest thing. I remember my dad always used to say as a kid, he used to say, let the work speak. Don't tell people what you're doing, show them.
Show them.
And that
reminds
was
me of my favorite. I'll tell you my favorite line. You just hit a favorite line of mine. Just watch what people do, and they'll tell you they'll tell you who they are.
Yeah,
watch
exactly.
What they do. Not what they say.
Yeah.
Watch what they do. That's a Maya Angelou phrase. And to your point, is like walk your talk. Just back it up with your actions. Don't tell people what you're going to be doing. Doing this, doing that. Just kind of start showing up and doing it, and then people start recognizing it for what it is. So I love that transition, though. The transition was that, again, what I heard there was that, again, something was ready to crack in Chicago. You come back, it shuts down, but you adapted quickly. And I think that's the message here for everybody here. Like, on LinkedIn, you hear all kinds of different verticals of business, people talking about how they had to change. And let's face it, I don't think a person on LinkedIn or the average person thinks about how, a comedian would do it or an actor would do it. Even musicians and so on. It's been a very difficult time for those who are need to be in front of people usually to do what they do best, and to be able to pivot very quickly. I think was just an amazing reminder to everybody, is that, like you said, when your sister store closed, she could have said, you know what, I'm out of the clothing business.
Yeah.
He didn't, and I know that story. Just for everyone knows that he encouraged her to keep going. I know she had to do it herself too, but she did. Well.
I helped her. You know what? It wasn't that I encouraged her. I think she just needed a little tap on the butt. I like to give people a little, hey, I see you're going somewhere. Here you go, tick, 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 tick. And that's just like what I like to do for people, because I can tell when someone has something. And just to close on the last question, I thought of another point. Sure. Adapting is huge, and comedy clubs, I need to give a big shout out to Absolute Comedy Club, because Absolute Comedy Club is kind of my home club. It's the only comedy club that I'm signed to. So I'm an independent artist. So in Canada, you're one of two things. You're either a yucks guy or you're an independent. And so if you're a yucks guy, you can only do yucks and whatever clubs they have in Canada. I personally find it as a hindrance to your career. That's a whole other topic for a whole other day. But as an independent, I could do everything but yucks. And there's a comedy club called Absolute Comedy. There's three of them. There's one in Toronto, one in Kingston, and one in Ottawa. They have garnered, fostered, and helped my career so much. They took a chance on me earlier in my career because the owner saw something in me and said, this guy's going to be it. Let's give him a shot. He gave, this is a quick example. He kind of, most comics from open mic to being a headliner in that club usually takes anywhere from 5 to 6 years. I did it in 6 months. I did my very first open mic with them. 6 months later, I was headlining at their comedy club in Ottawa. So that was, first of all, huge. Now, they're a big supporter of mine. So they opened within the restrictions. 50 people at a time, plexiglass in front of the stage. Comedians have to use different mics. This was in September of this year, of 2020, rather. I did 27 in 30 days.
Wow.
I did 27 shows in 30 days. And it was like, boom, boom, boom. And that was a learning experience, because you're performing in a fishbowl. And, quite literally a fishbowl. There was 4 corners of plexiglass surrounding me on stage. And they're mirrored. So I can't even see the audience. I could just see my stupid head 4 times. So I had to learn how to do my act within that. It only took 2 or 3, and I was like, "We're back." And it was, again, I did 27 in 30 days, and made some money. And that wasn't what that was about. It was about really getting my feet back under me, and really having
the adaptation of the fact of how you had to adapt to that new environment
and adapting to exactly that. So anyway, I just wanted to add in terms of being afraid, making changes, accepting those changes, and excelling. And that was with both Zoom and reduced capacity, extremely safe comedy clubs. And I hope soon we can get back to that reduced capacity, because I am ready for the road.
Gosh, aren't we all? Oh my God, my friend. I so appreciate, I appreciate you throwing that in there. Hey, I'm just going to throw up a couple more. I'm going to look for some comments about you.
Please. My God, it's about time.
There's just people that tune in to kind of look at me every now and I don't know why they do this. No idea. I swear to God. Listen, I got so much to get to anyway. And then listen, everybody who's watching us right now and sending us comments, I so appreciate that. I really, really do. We have so much to jump to, and I really want to make sure that I get some of this in. Now, you mentioned I want to jump to your family, because you mentioned about your dad. And I think it would be a better way to do this. I found, and you know where I'm going with this, but I found something online. I think it's worth a couple minutes to play some of that.
Sure.
And of course, the credits are there to the creator of this piece of content. I just find this story fascinating. This is almost another total different conversation for us to have. But I'm going to play a little bit about your dad because I just think it's a fascinating story.
Sure.
I
Can't wait.
think people would kind of see a little bit here. So this is a great piece of video here, and we'll come back and talk about the creator of that in a second. So have a look at this. This is about Eric and his dad, and again, a professional wrestler, another entertainer. So have a peek at this, everybody.
On top of being a professional wrestler, my father was a bigger than life person. He was a giant in so many ways. He was 6'5", 275 pounds, muscle. In the wrestling ring, he was a bad guy. He was a heel. He was a cowboy wrestler. He was an outlaw cowboy. But at home, he was a gentle giant. And actually, my mom would have to kill spiders in the house because my dad wouldn't do anything like that. He was an amazing man, caring, loving, generous, open, and he was hilarious.
This fighting kid, I'm gonna slap him like Vandy. Yes!
So for me, I really saw my dad as two separate people. The man who was the wrestler and the man at home. The wrestler was a bad guy. He was a heel. At home, he was a teddy bear, and everyone loved him. For me, I've taken that inspiration into my life as an entertainer, as a stand-up comedian. There's me on the show. There's me, the big guy, and he's kicking, and he's dancing, and he's yelling, and he's getting angry. I don't get angry, pretend angry, comedy angry. I've been through some tough stuff in my life. My dad died 9 days after my 13th birthday. Even when my dad was alive with his role as an entertainer, sometimes as a family, financially we struggled. But we always had laughter. Laughter lived in the walls of my house. My dad worked so hard, so I thought to myself, I'm just talking through a microphone, but I'm not wrestling anybody. I'm not jumping off the top rope. And my dad worked so hard to give everyone the best show possible. So based on my history, I think this life was given to me, but it was my decision to chase it. Obviously, him dying is a big part of my life because now I'm seeking approval from someone that I'm never going to get it from. If my dad was here right now, what would I say to him? I'd tell him that I'm okay. I know he would be so proud of me. I've spent my entire life chasing his footsteps. Everywhere that he's been, everything he did. And I'm never gonna stop chasing them. Doesn't matter how big I get, how much money I make, who knows me, who doesn't. I'm gonna be okay. 'Cause I'm never gonna stop. Wow. I teared up a bit there, and it's my documentary. Peter,
J. Perry did a great job. J. Perry is a friend of yours, I think. Amazing job. And listen, brother, that I saw that for the very first time this afternoon. I had to cut a few onions myself. Just an amazing story. There's so much to unpack in there, and maybe this is a show we need.
I'll keep it short. Don't worry. I know I'm a little long-winded.
Here's a question though I pulled from. There's so much to unpack there, and we'll do that. I promise. I hope we get a chance to do it another day. But what's fascinating is that, not fascinating, just even a sad story, but not uncommon, I guess, in a lot of people's lives. They experience tragedy. You lost your dad at basically 13 years old, and I'm just curious. That's a really tough time. 13, man. You're just starting to do the physical voice change and whatever's on
In
your
every
mind.
capacity, I'm changing.
Everything's changing. So, between 13 and 18, those really formidable years, can you think of something that you learned about yourself that you probably carry forward with you today? Can you think about
It's a great question. And before I answer it, I just want to say that I'm honored that you played that little piece. I was beaming. First of all, I've seen it many times. I created it, and I watch it. I probably watch that thing still at least once a week. When I'm resharing it and stuff, I'm watching it all the time. But so thank you. That was that meant a lot to me. And to answer your question, I'll say this: 9 days after my 13th birthday, my biggest hero, my biggest supporter, was taken away from me. My father was an alcoholic, and I can comfortably, openly say that in this interview. The reason why my father struggled with addiction is because he never really made it. He did very well. He had an amazing career. He toured all over the world, lived in every state of the United States, was big in Japan, big WCW events and stuff. But he was never Hulk Hogan. And that wasn't enough for him. So he struggled with some personal demons in terms of that. And my father never, you hear the stories of the professional wrestlers who get into painkillers and cocaine and stuff like that. My dad wouldn't even take a Tylenol. But he drank. He was a drinker. Mm-hmm. And for 25 years of a career before he died, he spent 25 years landing on his back, damaging his internal organs. So you take those two elements, you have alcoholism plus organ damage. It didn't take long for my father to die. I was 13. He was sick at my 13th birthday, but he could have. I've lived with this a little bit of pain for my life. My father probably would have survived if he went to the hospital earlier, but he didn't want to ruin my 13th birthday. And that's something that I live with that's painful, and I'm open to share that. When my father died, I felt like it was the world versus me. My hero, my biggest supporter. He's an entertainer. I was already doing plays and dance and stuff. I would just wanted to be like him. And, he was taken away from me. And I then became a jerk, for lack of a better word, or I can think of more colorful words. I was hurt by the world, so I wanted to hurt the world. So, not that I got into drugs or alcohol or anything. I was doing kind of teenage drinking, slipping a Mickey out of the house and going to a park with my buddies. But I didn't let anybody in. I didn't let anybody in to see who Eric Johnston really is. And I didn't really know who I was. I was a teenager. You think you know, you have no idea. It wasn't until I was about 20, 21 where I really started that notion of not letting anybody in, not letting anyone love me, not loving anybody, not really going for my dreams because I was afraid. I hadn't started. I was thinking about doing stand-up comedy, but I didn't start till I was 20, which isn't late, but still. Then I realized that it was physically and mentally hurting me because I wasn't experiencing life. I was pushing life away to protect myself because my heart was broken. And, oh man, I'm getting too hold on, sorry. I'm getting too emotional. I'm punching my microphone. But when I realized that it was time to let people in, it was perfect timing. I had just started being stand-up comic. So what's the number one way to let people in my world? Talk about my life and let people laugh about it. Right. Come into my world, make a mess, and I'm okay with it. And that took my entire 20s to fully be comfortable with. Now, as a 30-year-old man, I'll be 31 in July. I feel like I'm at the best physical. I'm down 20 pounds, and I didn't realize how much it counted in my neck until we rewatched that documentary, and I was like, ooh, I was 20 pounds heavier. Physically, mentally, my soul, my career is the best it's ever been, even with the pandemic. It took me 10 years to realize it, 10 years to actualize it. Yeah. And now I'm going to spend the next 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 70 years relishing in it and living in the positivity of that. I feel like I'm a new man every day. I'm still a Stony Creek guy, and I go out for drinks with my buddies, and we're joking around and chirping each other. But this conversation, and I just want to say, and no disrespect to anyone I've ever had a podcast before, this is the best interview I've ever done in my career, and I'm not just saying that. Because, Peter, you have this ability, first of all, with the professionalism, the videos, all that kind of stuff, but you have the ability where I can speak to you. I don't care who's listening. I mean, I care. I want them to listen and come in, but I can speak to you because I can tell that you're an open, honest man. And you know what? I've spent a big chunk of my life looking for, it's going to sound weird, men like you. Because I've needed a older, I'm not calling you old, but an older than me father or big brother figure in my life that I can just do this with.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be here with you. And so the biggest thing I've learned, to go back to your question, and I keep saying, I'll keep this short, but then I don't because my mind is blown with how great this is. The biggest thing I learned is the only way you're going to learn, the only way you're going to grow, the only way that you're going to make things happen is by being hurt and letting people in and learning. There's some lessons in my 20s that I wouldn't have learned if I was the person who I was when I was a teenager. I look back at my Facebook memories and stuff, and I think about, I got Facebook when I was 17, 18. So I look back, you get those, hey, on this day, 12 years ago, and I go, what a jerk that guy was. That guy is not me. That guy, 17-year-old me and 31-year-old me are like different guys.
100%.
I think that happens with a lot of people, but I think it's extremely happened with me.
Yeah.
And yeah, so to answer your question, let people in, let it get a little messy, and you'll learn and grow so much. I've never been happier in my life.
Well, listen, thank you for all those kind compliments. I super appreciate that. But listen, I think it's so refreshing to hear. And you nailed something I try to have a regular conversation with guys about, that we're not really good at that. And we're not really good at this idea of, I heard a gentleman today in a conversation use the word tenderness, for example.
Yeah.
And I said to him right away, I said, I love that word. And I said, I'll be frank with you, we as guys, we just rarely even use that word, let alone shows up in our conversation where someone is showing maybe a sense of vulnerability, and then we're tender with them. And males, we don't practice that. I wanted to jump back just to the whole bunch of things you said. Again, that's another great conversation. I think just even about your dad and his career and how it parallels with yours, I think is an amazing subject. But between 13 and 18, I'm almost certain, and maybe you can reflect on this, you just didn't have the tools to grieve properly. You didn't know what that was. You had hormones going on. I can imagine it's just a complete overwhelm of, the world just sucks right now, and I'm pushing back. Is that generally, like you said,
you're 100% right. It was a physical, metaphysical change for me because, I'm going through puberty. That's what we're dancing around here. I'm literally becoming a man in terms of scientifically. But now I'm the man of the house, and I'm 13. My mom is obviously not well. Her husband of 25 years just died. They did the classic kind of, and I hate to chirp older generations, but the baby boomer fix of pump her full of antidepressants, pump her full of whatever, and she'll be fine. She can manage this house. But she was hurt. My sister was 18. My sister's 6.5 years older than me. So she was 18, 19 when my dad died. She's becoming a woman in terms of now, in even more so. She went through puberty obviously as well, but I mean, she's an 18-year-old woman. So she kind of left and did her own thing. Now I'm running the house, and I'm 13. From 16 to 19, I had crippling daily panic attacks. But I didn't know what they were. I just thought I was dying every day.
We talked about mental health then and at a teenage. Right?
I literally couldn't walk anywhere without at some point having some sort of panic attack. I still live with anxiety now. I think I have a little, PTSD from that experience. But it's like, I'm good for a panic attack once every couple months now. But I didn't know the physical and mental anguish I was going through until it was almost too late. But then, I was never suicidal or anything in that sense of the word, but I didn't know, and I didn't talk because I didn't want to let anybody in. I can't talk about my feelings. I'm protecting my feelings.
Right.
So again, I changed 20, went to film school. It was a groundbreaking experience. The Vancouver Film School, I've seen it scrolled across. I had a great, the head of the program there, his name is Bill Marchand, was a monumental man in my life who really kind of broke me free of all of that crap. And I spent the last 10 years really formulating it through my career, through my successes, navigating what it even means to be a comedian, what it even means to be a successful comedian, and then dealing with the kind of the trials, tribulations, and dramas that go around with that. So I've learned a lot, and I'm willing to now take this current version of myself, even still with the fake, gold jewelry and the Hawaiian shirts and the whatever, the flashier, like peacocky version of myself.
Yeah.
But with a fully formed heart. My heart was broken when I was 13. It took 17 years to heal. Wow. And I want to give this to the world. I don't know if you can tell, and I didn't plan to turn this into a motivational speech about this, but I do a lot of speaking to youth.
Yeah, great.
One of the biggest joys of my career, put aside the Comedy Store, put aside Russell Peters, put aside the Laugh Factory, the biggest joy in my career is mentoring teenagers. Jesus, I keep punching this microphone. I'm so sorry.
Because that's powerful. That's powerful to be able to have that. Oh, that's
the biggest thing that I've cried tears of joy because I've been for a teenager what I didn't have. I haven't been able to teach because I'm an acting teacher. That's where I meet these teenagers. It sounds weird. Where I hang out with these teenagers. I'm an improv acting teacher. I have a class that's ages 13 to 19. I look forward to that class so much. We do a lot of acting work, but sometimes we just sit and talk like this.
Totally.
And it's been the biggest joy of my career. Some of my students have shared some deep, dark stuff. And they came to me with it. As an improv acting teacher at a small studio here in Stony Creek. It's been one of my students texted me today because I haven't seen them in the months of this lockdown here in Ontario, and just say, hey man, just checking in, just want to let you know I miss you a lot. I miss our talks. That means the world to me more than anything. This is all a dream. This is all a career that hopefully goes to the moon. But if it doesn't, I can put on my resume, help change the life of a teenager, and that would be number one over any gig I've ever done. And it's so important to me, and it's been so rewarding, and I can't say more about it without getting emotional. It's been so important in my life, and I am just so happy to be someone for someone else that I didn't have. And that's the answer to your question.
Listen,
and don't worry about time, by the way. I have another half hour. I know you want to wrap it up, but I know you're trying to.
I know you have another show tonight.
I have another show in a half hour, and I can go from here and turn around and do it over there. So don't you worry about time.
Yeah. Well, listen, I super appreciate you opening up about that. I think that there's so much in there for people to pull from. Always the goal here in these conversations with me is to find moments for the audience and anyone listening to this. You just changed. There's no doubt in my mind. Somewhere tonight, down the road, someone's going to hear this, and it's going to move them in a way that we'll never know. We'll never be able to measure it. It's that butterfly effect. Yeah. And everything you just talked about, there's legacy stuff. That's legacy stuff. If you have a conversation with a kid, and like you said, you get a text and say, "Hey, man, I just want to say I love you. I miss you."
Yeah.
And that's legacy stuff we're talking about. So I super appreciate you sharing that with me, because again, that's just another side of you as a person. I think what happens in life in general, if someone sees a guitar, they think you're a musician. If they see you and hear you talk, maybe at a comedy club or on Clubhouse or wherever, oh, that guy's just upbeat and he's one dimensional. And it's just the opposite. In order to bring some of the reflections you just talked about, there's a tremendous amount of work in there. Soul searching, self-awareness. I know you've done the work because I can hear it in your language. So good for you, man. I just wanted to say that to you because I appreciate some of the comments you said about having great conversation. One of the things that I saw in there or heard in there is that and I resonated with it too, my friend. And I won't go into the details of this, but I lost my mom suddenly in a part of my life too, and I recognized I just didn't know how to grieve properly, and it took me a long time. So that really resonated with me when you said that, because I think that's what happened as well for you. I wasn't as young as you, but there's no doubt in my mind yours was amplified because of the age factor and the changes physically and emotionally and so on. You know, I think about you as a young person as well, and probably all of the things that you just talked about there, and I can't even fathom some of the things that you kind of had to deal with. So I'm going to bring something up here for you to comment on, because I just think it's kind of a bridge to some of the things you just talked about right now. I want to bring up this good-looking young fella right here, and these beautiful people. And for anyone who doesn't know, explain to me who we're looking at right there, my friend.
That's my mom and dad, and the left is a Polish peanut in my mom's hand. That's me, and on the right is my dad, and me in a suit. I can give backstories to both quickly. That was obviously the week I was born. My mom is very proud that she didn't gain any weight while she was pregnant. She's one of those types of ladies. You know, I only weighed 7 pounds more when I was pregnant with you than what I regularly wear, and you were 7 pounds. So she often brags about that photo because she looks like a model.
Oh, yeah, she looks great.
And I love her so. And the second picture means slightly more, not just because my father's passed away. When I was that age, I probably 3.5, 4 there, my father would dress me up in a suit and a tie and a denim tuxedo there with cowboy boots on. And he would bring me in front of that's at my dad's 40th birthday party, by the way.
Okay.
He would introduce me like it was a comedy show.
Uh-huh.
He would tell, and you know, when the kids, you see those, you know, movies and in life and whatever, hey, come do that thing that you do. Come impress company.
That's right.
Me and my dad would work out comedy acts. Like we were Abbott Costello. He would riff and whatever. He'd introduce me, and I would do impressions, and I would sing "Achy Breaky Heart," and
Awesome.
I would do all of these things and entertain company. And every single time I would do that, my dad would look at all of his friends and he would say, "My son's going to be a stand-up comedian." And here I am, you know.
Yeah, I'm looking
You're
at
killing me today with these heartstring pictures. My God, Peter.
Well, I saw
That picture means a lot to me.
Well, I super appreciate that. I mean, you sharing this backstories behind them. I saw those pictures in my, you know, kind of researching you and so on, and I just thought, wow, those are, I see magic in them, which means that, we don't know each other very well.
Well, we do now. I've almost cried 3 times on this thing.
So I'm just wondering right there. I just put up there, if, you know, this person's there's a picture of a future actor, comedian, entertainer. You know, in both pictures, obviously had no idea what was about to happen at age 13 and so on. I'm just curious, you know, any advice for that young fellow there in the brown tent?
You're killing me.
Any advice for that young guy?
I'll say this. To my mom, I think for me to dealing with my mom is be more patient with her, because I didn't realize the gravity of which she was going through. Yeah. Just like I became a man when my father died, you know, she became a single mom. And she's also, again, and I'm not trying to keep bringing this up, but they were pumping her full of drugs. And she was lost. And I remember being so frustrated with her and yelling at her, being an angsty teenager, and not being patient with her. So that I would say to my younger self, be patient with her. To my dad, I would just say thanks. And to my younger self, I'd say it's gonna be okay. And that's it.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Beautiful, well said. Listen, just so you know, can totally relate to being patient with my mom. You shared a really important story. I've never shared this story before. I'll share it with you right now. And I don't do this. I don't do this because I feel
look at where we're at. 2 guys hanging out, being what would it say, tender. That's the word we're doing.
Tenderness. But you know, I was as a good Canadian boy. I was a little kid. I was in the back alley playing street hockey. And my mom came home. You know what? I don't know if I could tell her without getting teary-eyed. So I gotta be.
Well, you're making me teary-eyed now. You're trying to pull out.
No, she came to the back door and she had a hockey stick for me, and it was the wrong curve, and I got mad at her.
Yeah.
And I never told her I was sorry.
Yeah.
You know, and I think about that now and she's gone. Just breaks my heart. And I just want to share that with you. I understand. Be patient.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known that when I was younger. I wish I would have understood that when I was younger, you know.
Well,
be patient and kind, you know.
I just think about, you know, at this point in my life, I'm going to be 31. My father and my mother as well. At 31, I'll just go use my dad as an example. At 31, my sister was already born. He had already toured the world, lived in Japan, went bowling with Sammy Davis Jr., owned a house in Stony Creek, had a wife, had a kid with another kid on the way. You know, he had already done so much, and he was just getting started. Now, I'm now in a different generation where it's okay to start kids in life and houses at 40, especially if you're an entertainer. And you just don't realize the gravity of everything that they were dealing with. Literally keeping the house, you know, afloat.
Right.
And I, you know, I've been very lucky to be successful, and I use successful very loosely because my idea of success changes every day. Again, 5 years ago, my idea of being successful was not having another job. I haven't had another job in 5 years. So in my mind, I've already made it. You know, 5 years ago, a guy has already made it. You know, I will say about for my career, and I've said this in podcasts before, but it seems much more meaningful now. I used to get in trouble a lot in elementary school because I was a class clown. And I used to sit in that office all day. They'd just send me to the office, and I would just sit there and just listen to Mrs. 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃, I think her name was. No, it was my grade 2 teacher. I can't remember. The secretary just tick, 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 tick. Because they used to type on typewriters. Like, I'm not that old, but it was the 90s.
That's right.
And just listen there and sit there. And above the desk in the office, above the secretary's desk, there was a big plaque that said, "Shoot for the moon. If you miss, you land among the stars." And I have based my entire life on that. My entire life is, if you're going to go, go. If you're going to do it, do it. If you're going to do Zoom comedy, set up a comedy club. If you're going to do reduced capacity comedy shows, do 27 in a row. If you're going to tour the country, do the entire country. Do from the places that people won't go. I did a show in Climax, Saskatchewan. The population of the town is 150 people. I sold 130 tickets to the community center. 20 people stayed home. 20. And I assume they were elderly or children. Yeah. So I've gone to these places. I've done these things. I've shot for the moon in every aspect of my career. And all the things I'm going to work on, which we could probably close on. I'll just go and run through it quickly. I go for it. Because if I miss, I'm still fine. You know, I'm still going to be okay. I'm going to land among the stars. I think private jets. That's how I think. And it's not an ego thing.
No, I understand what you mean by that.
I think private jets, where want to get to a point in my career where the only way you can book me to perform in your city is by flying me there by private jets, because that's my goal. So if I don't get that, I'll be flying first class.
Fine. Hey, listen, I love that. That's a great transition to, and don't feel rushed. I mean, I'm going to get you finished.
No, we're fine. We're totally fine.
You just set it up beautifully for me, because I think your journey, and again, we've met for the first time. If anyone's watching this for the first time, we just literally met.
Seem like old chums.
I know, we're not old buddies or chums or anything. So, but listen, it's been great to get to know you here on the show. I'm just curious, with the journey that you've explained to me, and especially from growing up and your dad and your mom and some of the things you expressed right there. What are you most proud of your journey to date, do you think? What are you most proud of about yourself?
There's a lot. I think we covered a lot of it tonight in terms of, I'm proud of the what I've been able to create thus far in my career. And again, they're resume pieces, but they're very important. To be able to, I performed at the Laugh Factory. I'm what's called being passed at the Laugh Factory, and that's a good thing. When you're passed by the Laugh Factory, it means you can perform there anytime. That's a huge career statement in its own. Sure. To be able to perform on the Comedy Store stage, the main stage of the Comedy Store on Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood, California, did it twice, 2 years in a row for a big Canada Day showcase. to sit in that green room where Pryor and Carlin and Cosby and the Seinfeld sit in that green room and then have the host introduce me and walk through that stage and stand in that spot where the biggest names in comedy currently acts and the biggest names in comedy since comedy started have stood. I stepped out of my body. I was an observer of that.
Right. I know that feel. I know what you mean. Yeah.
And that was a big, in terms of resume piece. That's huge.
That's
the biggest thing that I'm proud of is, first of all, family. I know we've talked about it a lot. If you know me and you see me and what you've learned about me tonight, you know I'm very family oriented. I am the leader of this family. I am the leader of the Johnston name, and I carry it proudly. Not only do I do that, I bring my father with me. In my act and in my career and in my film work and in my documentary that I have coming up, my dad is still alive. He lives within my career. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of everything that I've done. And again, I'm very proud of being what I didn't have for the teenagers of my community. And another thing that I'm proud of, and this relates to this conversation, is when people hear me speak, and I hope it happens here tonight between Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, or Clubhouse and LinkedIn. When people hear me speak like you did, they go, I want to know more about that guy.
Yeah. Yep.
And you did that. You asked me. I could have very easily said, hey, Peter, I'm pretty busy right now. I'm filming this pilot. I got Clubhouse going on, whatever. I'm not going to do that, first of all, because I'm not an idiot, but also that's not my style. The answer is yes. The answer is always yes first. We'll figure out how we're going to do it and when.
Right.
I'm proud that that is an existing thing, because I think in this and in this and in this, people can come in.
Yeah.
It's an open door. And I'll tell you about my pain. I'll tell you about my suffering. But I'll also tell you about my successes. And I'll tell you about the things that I've done. Again, these resume pieces. But the biggest thing I'll tell you is you can too. And I am a comedian in every sense of the word. And an entertainer in every sense of the word. But I like to be a mentor. I like to be a brother. I like to be a son. And someday I'm going to be an excellent husband and an excellent father, because I've done the work on myself that unfortunately not a lot of men my age are willing to do.
I hear it, my friend. I hear it. That's why I'm saying I really appreciate you sharing this, because somebody else is going to hear it, and you're changing someone's life and we don't even know it right now. And
I hope.
Just to have a male perspective of some of these things we're talking about. But I hear the work, my friend. I really, really do.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this question. And we are winding down, believe it or not. We are winding. But it's been a very, for a comedian, and I appreciate you still saying, I still feel anxiety sometimes. And, a lot of people are dealing with, mental health issues. I have a family member struggling with that tremendously, at the hospital level, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's overwhelming. People are up and down in their lives, careers, business, so on. I just, you've talked to so many Canadians, again, 50,000 plus kind of people have been through those rooms. You've spoken to thousands of them, or at least moderated for them and so on. I'm wondering what keeps you hopeful and optimistic these days? What keeps you hopeful?
I don't know which Greek philosopher said this, but they said happiness is defined in the completion of small tasks. I don't know who said it, and I quote it often. I should probably find out. Happiness is defined by the completion of small tasks. I think private jets, and I think biggest comedian in the world, and I think Jim Carrey level movie star, but I take it day by day. When we hang up this call, there is a note in my phone that says Red TV, Monday, 8 o'clock. I'm going to tap it and say, done. Every Sunday night, I make a to-do list of everything that I have to do throughout the week, and everything's on there. My workout plan, the garbage in, garbage out's on there, things I'm shooting, things I'm recording, everything. these little things, first of all, keep you focused in terms of what's directly in front of you. But what I didn't realize until I really started getting into it, of terms of to-do list building, is it was making me so much more successful because I was constantly working towards something. It keeps me happy. It keeps me motivated. Sometimes so I do weekly to-do lists, but I also do monthly, and I also do yearly, and I also do lifetime goal to-do lists.
Wow, fantastic.
And I've written things down for my yearly to-do list. I do one on January 1st, like everybody does, what I want to do this year. Sure. I remember in 2016, I wrote down YYZ to LAX. Which is Toronto to Los Angeles, for those who don't know airport codes. YYZ to LAX. I wrote it down, and I remember writing it down and being like, I don't know anybody in LA. I really have no reason to go there. It's a big dream. It's a lofty dream, but screw it. I'm writing it down. On January 6th, I got a call from a friend and said, I'm down in LA for 2 weeks. I got a spare bedroom. Come down. Fly yourself down. I'll put you up. We're going to meet as many people as we possibly can. He's a very well-connected comedian. Right. He said, I've seen how hard you've been working. This is a call that I got. This is like stuff when they talk about the secret or whatever. Right. Manifestation. Right. People kind of joke about that, make fun of it. But I think the biggest thing about to-do lists and that kind of goal-setting stuff is it keeps you motivated, it keeps you working. But sometimes the universe just gives it to you. And I went down there, I met some of the biggest comics in the world. I got some of the biggest opportunities in the world out of it. I became friends with one of the biggest, and I say friends, I mean friends, talk to them every day, friends, with one of the biggest comedy agents in LA, just from socializing at an event.
Right. But you wrote it down.
It wrote it down, and it changed my career. So I implore anyone who can hear my voice right now, a plan in your head is great, but you write it down, it becomes an actual action. You create an action plan for this. Sometimes the universe will give you a little tap on the butt, like I mentioned before, and say, hey, I see you're really working. It's the universe. Go ahead. Yeah. But also you'll have friends. You'll have people who are invested in your career and invested in your journey, really wanting to help you because they see how absolutely hard you're working, and that's the space that I live in. So I'm always hopeful. I'm always optimistic because I'm always working towards something, whether it's taking the garbage out or hosting SNL. I have a plan.
Love it. Oh, I love that, man. That is a fantastic. Listen, that's inspiration to me because I heard you loud and clear. So I hope somebody else picked up on, and again, I think that's another conversation for us to have.
This is going to be a 6-part episode.
Yeah, we have multiple series here. Hey, listen, I know you got to go to another show, and we covered so many cool subjects, but I'd be remiss if I would leave without having some fun with you. I had tons of fun already.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm both heavy and light at the same time right now. Yeah, we're talking about stuff, but I feel amazing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, one of the cool things about Clubhouse, you hear the voice, even coming on here, I might see you and we have a conversation. I heard so many amazing things that you shared, so appreciate that. But we still don't get to know exactly what's inside that mind. So I came up with something called This or That. This or That with Eric Johnson. And I'm just going to say 2 things, and you just tell me which one. And that'll just give me a little insight of what's going on with Eric Johnson. And we don't want to go in too deep there because, like I said, that's a long road to get in there. I tell my wife the same thing. So you don't want to come in here.
No, it gets a little messy. Bring your mudding shoes. Go ahead.
Here we go. This or That with Eric Johnson. Let's start with this one. Simple. Whiskey or wine?
I'm drinking wine right now, so wine. I like whiskey, but sometimes it makes me too emotional. Go on.
Well, that would have been good to have for you tonight. That would have been fantastic.
I would have fully cried if I was drinking a Ryan Coke right now. I'll tell you that.
Fair enough. How about this? Spider-Man or Batman?
Neither. I've never seen a superhero. I've never cracked a comic book in my life, but I've only seen one superhero movie in my life, and it was the first Spider-Man. So I'm going to have to go with Spider-Man.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, cool. We'll have to talk about that. Coldplay or Kanye West?
Kanye West. I love Coldplay, but Kanye's king.
Got it. Convertible or truck?
Convertible. I'm a show. Look at me. Truck? I don't
even
know how to get in them.
Oh, you're Canadian. It's Canadian. You got hockey gear to lug around. We're going out for a bite to eat when I come visit you one day. We're Chinese food or Italian food?
For branding, I would have to say Italian. I made a career off pretending to be Italian, but I also really like Chinese food. So you know what? We'll do lunch and dinner.
That sounds good. Sounds good. Travel-wise, Europe or the Caribbean?
Caribbean, because I don't like to fly. And Europe seems too far. I don't want to cross any oceans.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. How about movie-wise? Shawshank Redemption or Gladiator?
Shawshank, just because it's a better movie in terms of emotional journey, like we've been on tonight.
Yeah, right. That was a very good. I agree with you. Jay Leno or David Letterman?
Letterman.
A day with Dave Chappelle or a day with Eddie Murphy?
Chappelle. Love Murphy, but before my time, Chappelle is my guy, and for my era, yeah.
Got it. How about this one? Hope or freedom?
Ooh. Freedom. Because I'm a pretty free man already. You know, my biggest, to end on a kind of go back to emotional stuff, my biggest anxiety, my biggest fears, my biggest triggers of anxiety are the feeling of being trapped. Trapped in life, trapped in relationship. That sounds terrible, but trapped in whatever. Yeah. I already live a very freedom-filled life, but I want to have someone kind of beyond that freedom with me and not worry about it. I already have a lot of hope, but I'm also a guy who's very hopeful, but I also have a plan. So I don't necessarily need hope. I have action and freedom. So freedom.
Okay, beautiful answer. I love that. No right or wrong here. It's all good.
I know. Well, we're digging deep here.
We're digging deep. I will finish on this one. Finish this sentence for me. I love my life because...
I love my life because it's clear through this interview that I do. I truly do love my life. It's clear in things like this or other things that I do and how we got here this evening that I'm still learning every day. Obviously, we all know that. Everyone's learning every day, and you should up until the day you die. But I love my life because I'm at a point in my life now where I'm a fully formed person ready for the world to see. And now I truly feel like people want to look. That's why I love my life.
Bravo, my friend. Bravo. Eric Johnston, I knew this was going to be awesome. I just knew it. I knew it in my heart. When I heard you the first time on Clubhouse, you are certainly a Clubhouse rock star. But you know what, my friend? You're a life rock star, brother. You got some things dialed in that people need to hear, and I super appreciate you sharing them with me tonight. That's for sure.
I said this before, and I'll say it again just because it needs to be said again. I've been an entertainer since I was 6 years old. I've been a professional touring stand-up comic for 10 years. I've been guesting and hosting podcasts and live speaking engagements for at least 5 years. Fully professionally, I mean. I've probably done, I was going to say thousands. It's probably high hundreds. Mm-hmm, and sure. No disrespect to anyone who has ever spoken to me before. This is the best podcast I have ever done. Cut it out, clip it out, put it on the YouTube page. Eric Johnston says this is the best podcast I've ever done for multiple reasons. One, very professional in terms of how it looks, how it feels. And you got to give a shout out to StreamYard because of StreamYard, you're able to do this kind of action here. The research almost feels like you know who 𝗘𝗪𝙗𝗪, the human serviette is from Much Music, his extreme research. It's 𝗘𝗪𝙗𝗪-esque in terms of I was blown away by some of the things that you've done. I haven't spoken Who's We in probably 6 years out loud. I'm sure it's somewhere on the internet, but I'm saying I haven't spoken about it. But also the biggest thing that you have going for you, Peter, is, first of all, the idea that we felt like old friends, because that's huge. That's what someone like a 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏 has when he's interviewing celebrities or whatever. You feel like they're old friends. But your open heart truly allowed me to open mine. I know I came in here, I'm joking around, hey, you look like Rod Stewart, blah, blah, blah. Within seconds, my character, my podcasting character, stripped away, and we were able to have one of the most open, honest, loving, caring, tender conversations I've ever had, and I don't even care. I mean, I'm excited that people are watching and listening, but I don't care. I care about this, and it meant the world to me. So thank you. Truly, 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 thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Listen, I right back at you, everything you just said. I super appreciate that. Coming from you means a lot because I know you know the work and I know you know what it takes to kind of do some things, and much respect back to you, my fine friend. And thank you for opening up and sharing. I have a funny feeling we're going to do this again.
Me too. I think we might be requested by your viewing audience. I need to find a way. I mean, you're going to send this to me, but I'm going to share the crap out of this because I cannot believe how well this went.
Oh, well, listen, you brought it, brother. So I appreciate it. Listen, it's all about what you brought. And I think there's so many great, again, there was just so many different verticals to your life that just need a little bit more unpacking. And I just hope I get a chance to do it, and I hope we have more conversation. And as soon as WestJet or somebody allows me to jump on a plane to come and visit my sister. I have a sister in London. Which means
perfect. Nice and close.
Nice and close to come down to your part of the world, that's for sure. So, and get a flight into Hamilton, and away we go. So it's really simple, really simple.
Drinks
stuff.
on me.
It's so good to see you, and I so appreciate your time. And listen, everybody, I just want to make sure you know how to connect with this guy. Please, I mean, this guy is an actor, entertainer, and comedian, and he's for hire, and he's here to work. And I'll put it up along the bottom to make it very specific here for LinkedIn people. I know that's what part of your strategy right now, and you want to get more active out there. So anyone in business, corporations, nonprofits, C-suite people, you're looking to bring your teams together. That fine young gentleman over there can help you out tremendously. So connect with him. And of course, right underneath his name right here on the screen is Eric Johnston, WHO.com, EricJohnstonWho.com. And for all social media, just text or type in EricJohnstonWho.com. And you can find him that way. And in honor of you, my fine friend, Eric, I know you got to go. This is like a 30-second clip, and then you can just duck out in the behind the scenes. I'm going to play you. I always try to think of a video to play at the end.
Sure.
And I had a great chance to visit my dad. I can't wait to go see him again. He's in Nova Scotia, so I hope to go see him soon. We were out in Peggy's Cove, and I talked him into jumping on the camera with me, and I think you'll love this. Oh,
great. Let's do it.
Same name and all that kind of stuff. So everybody else, thank you for watching us. We so appreciate it. Thank you, Eric Johnston. Looking forward to seeing you out on Clubhouse, and we'll do this again another time. Everybody else out there, as I always tell everybody, just be kind, everybody. Just be kind.
Ellen, there you go.
All right. All right, Eric. We'll see you soon, my friend.
Thank you. This has been amazing.
Thank you. Cheers, buddy. Hi, I'm Peter Clarke in beautiful Peggy's Cove, Nova Scotia. You're watching Red TV.
I'm the real Peter Clarke. I'm here in Peggy's Cove, and I'm watching Red TV.
Let's go. That was good.